It's all the things that the liberal media in this country hate. It's a boys' school, it's rugby, and it is success. And some combination thereof is always likely to engender, oh gosh, anything from envy to hysteria to hatred from the media. So when something that looks like it could be a scandal breaks out in that particular area, it receives an amplification that all the other scandals in this country don't quite get the same hyperbolic treatment. And unsurprisingly, Radio New Zealand News, which I'll have more to talk about later on this morning, is leading that charge. It's in relationship to, and this is, you won't believe how big this story is. I think it was the lead story on Radio New Zealand News this morning. This is how big it is, Here it is. That there are 5 Year 14s, as they're called, we'll come to that in a second, in controversial Marlborough Boys College First Rugby 15. Apparently the story is that 5 boys have returned to school, oh my God, Josh, just to play rugby this year. And they're in the Marlborough Boys College First 15, which has had the temerity to defeat a couple of better heeled and probably more famous rugby schools in Christchurch, and also just recently defeated Nelson College as well, who are the sort of big school of South Island rugby, or have been for the last 2 or 3 years. Anyhow, the whole idea apparently is that 5 boys, as I said, have come back and they are now playing rugby in year 14. Now, apparently this is a crime. Apparently this is a dreadful thing. Apparently it's appalling that some boys are spending a 6th year at school and that their primary motivation might be also to play rugby. Can I just say, Josh, I don't recall a time in the history of New Zealand secondary school education when boys were herded out at the end of 5 years, particularly if they weren't achieving so well. Most of the boys actually under examination here are Pacific Island boys who, well, we know that they do not achieve quite at the same rate as others, and another year at school could only be considered a good thing. When I was at school, kids failed school certificate and went back and spent another year in the 5th form. They might carry through into the then 7th form. I had a number of my classmates in the 7th form go that way. Equally, they might have spent 2 years in the 6th form. I know one boy who spent 2 years in the 5th form, 2 years in the 6th form, and then joined us in the 7th form at 19 years of age. But he was there because his parents were determined that despite his, shall we say, less than average ability, they were determined he wasn't going to leave school until he had the qualifications in which he might succeed. You won't be surprised to learn, of course, that he ended up heading a government department. So, just quietly, that worked. But here it is, a scandal. Lovingly curated by Radio New Zealand, broadcast by most media today, as if there is something wrong with kids not actually completing all of their schooling career within the allotted time allocated to them, even if they've failed. And given the number of boys in particular who fail in our secondary school system, primarily, I would suggest to you, as a result of the feminisation of the workforce, and that they'll be preciously lucky if they see a male teacher before they get to secondary school anyhow, then it's perhaps no surprise that they lag a little behind and might need a little longer in which to get their qualifications. But so you do end up as a second year 5th or a second year 6th who's playing rugby or any other sport. It's just the nature of the beast. But oh no, it's a primary scandal for Radio New Zealand News today. Oh God, Marlborough College, Boys College, I really, really, really hope you do win the championship, and I hope you stick it up them, just quietly, because this is not a scandal. This is something boys have always loved playing: rugby, football, cricket, girls, netball, hockey. They've always lingered a little longer, and if that was the incentive for them to come back and get better qualifications, I can't think of a better incentive that there should be. What do you think? Those are my thoughts this morning.